Hello, everyone. There are a handful of you out there, and we have myself, Bill Miller, and we have Bill McClain, also known as PhoneBill, on the other side of your screen. And today we're going to learn a lot about how Bill has become a long-term successful CEO. And hopefully we'll have a fireside type chat, and everyone will learn something and take something away and enjoy it. There is a chat enabled, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to type in there. We can see everything that goes in there, and actually we can't say BM and BM because it's Bill Miller and Bill McClain. So the two BMs will try to handle any questions that come along our way. So, Bill, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bill. My name is Bill McClain. I am the CEO of Networking Solutions, and my second company is Stratostyle, which is my voice platform company. The Networking Solutions company was formed in 1996, so we just celebrated our 25th year anniversary this past spring. And we started Stratostyle about 10 years ago, just over right at 10 years in December of this year. So I'm located in just outside of Richmond, Virginia, and I'm born and bred in Virginia, and live here with my family, wife and kids.
Fantastic. So some of the things that Bill brings to the table are his personal brand, which is primarily on LinkedIn. He's known as PhoneBill, and he's very active on LinkedIn. He's going to probably talk about this because I'm going to ask a couple of questions later, but he's very active in commenting and providing his views. So there's one thing about Bill is he has an opinion on just about everything that I can see, because I follow a lot of the same people. And some of you may be on the call here. By the way, this is being recorded, so everyone who registered, and certainly everybody who attends, will get a link emailed back out to them. So if you miss any of this or you join late, there's a few participants on now, and it keeps increasing. So you'll have an opportunity to go back to the beginning and see the whole thing. But PhoneBill is pretty good. I go by Beeline Bill. So if you were to search Bill Miller, you wouldn't find much of anything except for other Bill Millers. But if you search on Beeline Bill, all of my link, my book, and my all kinds of other social media channels will come up. And I joined the Cloud Voice Alliance earlier this year as an advisor to start the CEO Success Stories series, of which this is our inaugural. And we thank Bill for participating and actually setting the stage and carving the path through here. And Jeff Dorkin had asked me to do that because I published this book here, which is now a 2-time award winner that you might want to read. It's 9 rookie CEO stories, and there's a lot of learnings at the end of each chapter, and some stories that teach you that are good, and some stories that cross the line. Now, Bill is successful, as you can tell, since 1996, and then a second company in 2011. So he's not a rookie anymore, but he was a rookie once. And maybe he can share some rookie mistakes that he made to help people along, because that's what this is about, is to help people. So Bill's been doing this for 35 years. I've been doing this stuff for over 50 years in the technology world, and I've been in the voice world for many, many years, formerly at Tracom, Digium, Fujitsu, and a few other places. And so hopefully you'll get a chance to take a few things home. And I'm going to be doing the asking of questions of Bill to hopefully give you a really good feel for his CEO journey. So, Bill, when did you know you wanted to become a CEO?
So it's interesting. My wife and I have been married since 1990, so we just celebrated 31 years. And she has been very successful in her career. She's a CPA. She worked for a Fortune 50 company. She rose through the ranks there. And so she was a working mom. We became parents in '93 when my oldest was born. And I was working for a local company here in Richmond, and I was a road warrior. Prior to my oldest being born, I would travel out of town overnight. I had my old day timer, right? The big pages, the day planner or whatever it was called. And I was flying home in like October, November of '93, the year my daughter was born, and I was out of town overnight, 3 out of 5 nights for the entire year. I used to travel and do large network integration projects up and down the East Coast, primarily mostly law firms. I had some legal experience working for one of the largest firms in the country and working in their IT department. And so I did a lot of legal integration for the company that I worked for. In November, I went to my boss and I said, "Hey, I need to stay in town for a while. We're having a baby." And so he said, "Yeah, sure, no problem, no problem." So she was born this past Tuesday, November 30th. And it went well. And 2 weeks later, my boss came to me. I was back at work. I took a week off, maybe a little more. He said, "I need you up in DC next week." I was like, "Oh God." As new parents, you don't know what you're doing. That little kid's gonna break. You just. So I said, "All right." Went home, tears, tears, tears. And so what I decided to do at that point was, I was like, "Hey, Richmond's a pretty big town. Let me go work for somebody." So I went to work for somebody locally that I wouldn't have to travel, and started up a network integration division for them, with under the understanding that I would be tied into ownership at some point down the road. And a couple years down the road, I had succeeded in building that division. We were profitable. And then the existing owners decided in March of '96 that they weren't going to follow through in making me a minority owner. So in April of '96, Networking Solutions was incorporated, and I started with a partner who joined me in May, and we started like that. So I guess, I never thought of myself as a CEO, but I guess I was immediately, although there was just the two of us, and then a third person, and then a fourth, and so on. So yeah, as far as your question goes, I guess about then. And so the reason for starting the company was twofold. One, to have some flexibility for my growing family, and two, to stay home for my growing family. It didn't have anything to do with wanting to be a CEO or wanting to like get rich or anything like that. It was really, and I joke about that now. People say, "Hey, do you have a side hustle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I run 2 companies. That's my side hustle. My primary job is husband, father, provider, and that's my primary job. My side hustle is my companies that allow me to do that." So that was sort of my goal. And and the reason I tell you that is so that you kind of get what my mindset was. I didn't have visions of glory. I didn't want to be in 5 cities in 3 years and making X amount of money or whatever. My job was to have a nice, steady income, flexible schedule, because my wife was working many hours for a really big company, and we needed that as a family.
Very good. All of a sudden, when you start to have a few people, like 4 or 5, whatever, you are a CEO. And that's when it gets to be challenging, because you didn't think about all the things that go with that role. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your rookie mistakes in that first couple of years. Things that you could think of, maybe 1 or 2 things that a rookie might not be prepared for.
Yeah, well, I think there's some challenges. One of the challenges I had was having a partner, and we were 50-50 partners. And so the challenge there was 2 chiefs, no Indians, right? So nobody had was the decision maker, which we were friends, and but after a period of time, it pretty much was obvious that we needed to have one chief if the company was going to excel. And so around 99, 3 years in, I bought out my partner, and I continued the business at that point in time. So I think maybe a rookie mistake would have been understanding, if you do need to have a partner or have a partner, or that you have similar goals, similar needs, both financially and family wise, so that your decisions are in parallel. In my case, because my wife was very successful, my financial needs at the start of the business were not demanding. I didn't need to make any money at all, to be honest with you. And so that's one of the challenges for a rookie CEO is, what are they doing now? What's their income? What does their income need to be? And to make sure that they don't strain the company meeting their personal financial needs, because the company is very fragile at the beginning, and the CEO cannot drain all the capital out of the company that needs to be reimbursed into expansion, hiring more people, expanding, going after more business, et cetera, et cetera. So my CEO tip would be if you do need to have a partner, make sure you're in alignment there. So if one person needs lots of money and the other doesn't, that's a problem, especially in a 50-50 situation. And we sort of ran into that, but we were able to overcome that and move on from there.
Well, over the years, not as a rookie, but as you got into, let's say, the second company with Stratus Style, as you move forward, what were the top 2 or 3 challenges that you overcame, really difficult challenges that you had to overcome to make the second one successful, having already been in business for a few years?
Well, I could tell you that, the early years after I bought out my partner, the one thing that, and this is pre managed service provider, this is pre cloud voice. So one of the things that we would do is we would go find a project, we would do the project, we would make lots of money, and then we wouldn't have anything to do. So you had this roller coaster ride, right? Make lots of money and nothing, make lots of money and nothing. I learned very early on that was going to age me really quickly, because the stress of finding that next opportunity and was just very stressful, and probably is very stressful. So I came to the decision, probably in the mid 2000s, that everything that we did was going to be recurring revenue, monthly billing, whatever that was. Internet circuits, backup services, desktop services, network management, cloud voice, security, whatever. It was going to be monthly billing, recurring revenue, predictable income. And even if the growth curve was like this, I'm okay with that, because it's very predictable. And so as we started down that path, the goal was to have expenses and then have your monthly revenue at some point meet those expenses. So on the first of the month, your expenses are this, your revenue's this, and then whatever you make after that is gravy. And so that was my goal. Was to have recurring revenue. And so in 2011, when we started Stratus Dial, we had actually done some premise-based phone systems prior to that, and done okay. before we started doing those phone systems, we being networking guys, I was like, well, how hard could a phone system be? And so we picked up a few different ones. We were doing some Cisco and some Allworks and Altigen, and I can't even remember all the different ones we played with. And we made some money, and we made a little bit of profit on the install, a little bit of profit on the equipment, but then that was it. So Bill, that there used to be money to be made in what's called moves, adds, and changes, right? So when you had a premise-based PBX, you would roll a truck. When Joe quit and Sam started, you got billable work, right? Because you had to change the phone system because they had a new employee. So by the time we got into some premise-based stuff, moves, adds, and changes, and maintenance money and things like that was dying. It was going away. And so I quickly said, no, we need to get the dial tone piece. And that's the recurring piece. That's the part that gets billed every month. So let's provide dial tone to our phone systems. That's when I started, I was introduced to cloud voice. And being a networking guy, I was like, you can't deliver good quality voice over the internet. What are you talking about? That's crazy. That's crazy talk. So it took them, it took a few months for us to buy into that. And even after that, we still had some learning to do. But the good thing was that we were networking guys. So to me, a voice packet is just a packet. We know how to give it quality of service. We know how to deliver that packet in a timely fashion, which is required by voice. And so for us, that part was not a challenge. Now, and I joke with Bill leading up to this, that, our biggest challenge was, a punch down panel for data is 110, right? But for voice, it's a 66. And, a 110 data punch down is very exacting. You got to meet the specifications. 66 block, you daisy chain these wires up and down. And we were like, what is this? And so when we moved strictly to the data network, we were in our element, and we partnered with some companies, and we got started from there doing cloud voice.
That's cool. I think back in '99, when I was with Fujitsu, I actually ran the data group. And when we were introducing voice over IP, initially with trunking, I did a presentation for the Society of Telecommunications Consultants called, "Is it voice or is it data?" to get their attention that all these interconnects needed to change their business model and learn packet, because the world was going that way. I still have that presentation. It was pretty interesting. I shared it recently with John Arnold, who you may or may not know. He's an analyst and a consultant in the VoIP UC space. Okay, so the next question that I wanted to ask you is, over the years, you've developed certain philosophies, and I've recognized a lot of your philosophies from your LinkedIn posts and talking to you, but you're very customer-centric. You love to help people. You want people to have a great customer experience and user experience. To me, those are core principles and core values. How would you define your philosophies as a CEO?
Well, I'm not the smartest guy out there, and my company is not the best company out there. We don't know more than the other guy. We don't, the products and services that we deliver are really not any different than, open the phone book, or on a national stage, anything that the big boys aren't offering. So since we can't really differentiate the product, and voice is a commodity, item, it has to be on how you deliver it, and how you service it. And so, I have three mantras that I try to live with. First, you need to get to know me. Once you get to know me, you're going to get to like us, and not just me, but us. And then you're going to trust us. And once you know, like, and trust us, then when we talk to you and we deliver and explain a solution for you, you will believe us because you trust us. And I tell customers when I meet with them for the first time, You don't know me today, and I'm asking you to trust me, but you don't trust me yet because you don't know me. So we're just going to date for a while. We're going to date before we get married. How's that sound? Yes, good. Okay. So if you don't want to marry me when I ask you to, when I ask you to sign that 3-year contract, 4-year contract, whatever, it's good. But I'm confident in what we do, and I believe that at the end of the dating period, you will know, like, and trust us, and you'll be ready to sign on with us because of the products and services we offer, but mostly because of the way we deliver it, how we deliver it, and who we are.
Okay. And how does that contribute to the success, the long-term success of your
Oh my God.
two businesses?
Yes. So I have relationships with, you know, clients that go on for many years because it's always it's easier to keep a customer than to find a new one, right? And everybody always says that, but it's true. And so if you look at my client list, you would see clients for 20 plus years, multiple clients. Some clients, I had a call from a CPA firm 2 days ago. They were doing some expansion. He called my cell phone directly, the managing partner. He's been a client for 23 years. He said, Bill, I said, hey, what's up? What's going on? He's like, is it okay to call your cell phone? You know, so he was with me back when it was just me and another person. And now we have, we have people in place. We have help desk numbers. We have ticketing systems, all the whole shebang. And he's like, is it okay to call your cell phone? I'm like, always. It's always okay to call my cell phone. So those relationships, by building that trust, I mean, it's really led to some long-term customers.
But that's the philosophy with your employees.
You broke up a little bit there. Sorry.
Your employees.
I didn't catch that, but I know you said something about employees. So given that philosophy, I think what you're probably asking me is how does that convert to my employees? And so, I have employees who have been with me. My number one person who's been with me the longest has been with me for 22 years. So next, 18, next, and then some younger ones. So I've got my core people that have been there with me for a really long time, and they convey the same beliefs, and they have bought on to the types of services we need to provide and the quality of service we need to provide, and they're great team members, and it makes it really easy for me.
I am getting a message that I'm cutting out. Is it better?
A little bit better, yeah. So yeah, you can ask me a question in the chat if you want.
Well, I really
Now,
here, so okay. So the next question, if you can hear me, hopefully. So how did you your company and clients differently during the pandemic? How did it impact your business? Okay.
yeah, I did not catch that. Sorry, Bill.
Okay. This is not the experience. All right. So,
Well, while Bill's playing with that a little bit, I'll go into sort of my people real quick. So one of the questions I get when I do these interviews is, how do you find good people and how do you keep good people? A CEO challenge, right? And many times people will say, well, what's the best attribute for a good employee? Skill set, past experience, et cetera, et cetera. And when I tell people what my number one trait is for hiring someone, many people will look at me kind of funny. My number one trait is personality. Um, Personality, because of what we do and the way we do it. So remember, service is most important to me. And so personality is critical to deliver good service. Empathy. You got to remember that most of the time, we're dealing with people that are having a problem. Sometimes it's a new install, but a lot of times it's somebody that needs help with something, somebody that's having a challenge. So, unfortunately, the legacy of IT people or tech people or telecommunications people is they're not very personable, and they're like, just reboot, or whatever. And so a lot of times I'll hire people based on their personality. I can teach them whatever they need to know, skill set wise. We can do training. I can teach them. I'm technical. My staff is technical. So the number one reason I hire somebody is for personality, and then I teach them the skill sets that they need. So you can't really teach somebody to engage with people effectively, and you want people to like you, and you want people to like your employees, so that they'll trust them and they'll continue to use you. So that's sort of what I did. So let's see how you sound now, Bill.
All right, how's that?
Well,
That's
that part
good.
was so good so far.
I found the problem, but I don't know what caused it, so it's kind of weird. Okay, so my question was, what unique challenges did you and your team overcome during the pandemic, from the shutdown days of, let's say, February, March of last year of 2020 through, let's say, I don't know, even today, because we're still kind of partially involved with this pandemic. So what unique challenges and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I remember in March turning to Eric Hunter, who some of you may know, who's my number one. I said, "Hey, how did we deal with this the last time this happened?" And it was a joke, because we never had to deal with this before. So we weren't sure, and I wasn't sure, and I was dealing, I was talking to all my peers, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you handling this in IT, in telecommunications, and not, just getting a feel for it. And the one thing that I did is, we didn't know, are people going to keep paying us? Are we going to be able to go service our clients? What's going to happen? Luckily, Virginia, the majority of our clients are in Virginia, and we didn't get locked down quite as much. We were considered essential because we supported remote workers, and we have a large customer base of automotive dealers. They were considered essential, and so they were still working. So we were supporting them. People still needed their phone systems. We pivoted to support people for remote work. I keep telling people, had this happened 10 years ago, we would have been screwed, because the remote technology today, the biggest factor is bandwidth, right? Cheap bandwidth. Everybody has bandwidth at home now. 10 years ago, not everybody had bandwidth. When I say everybody, I mean most people, right? So it wasn't a big deal to take your IP phone home and plug it into your cable modem, right? And plug in your power supply and work from home. 10 years ago, that would have been a big deal. So one of the things we did is, as we slowed down, and we did have a period of slowdown, instead of laying people off, which I didn't want to do, I've invested money and time into these people and trained them. Last thing I want to do is lay people off in a downturn. So what I did is I said, all right, here's what we're going to do. And I had a meeting, and I said, we're all going to take a cut. We're going to take a temporary cut. And I cut like 40% of everybody's salary, including mine. And I said, you only need to work 3 days, since we're cutting you for 2 days, but we're not going to have to lay anybody off if we do that. And that means that when this thing's over, we're going to be able to ramp back up. And so when I did that, the amazing thing was, guess how many days they worked? 5. And what I did is then we did that for about 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. And then I was able to back pay them. So I paid them for those 2 days, this time 6 weeks, over the next few weeks, and was able to take that back. So that was a decision. That was a CEO decision. You got good people, you trained them, you don't want to lose them. And we know now today with the great reset of people leaving jobs and moving around that finding good talent is extremely difficult. So the last thing I wanted to do is take somebody that had been working for me for 2 years. It takes about a year or two to make somebody take them from 0 to 100 so that you're sending them out to support you in any types of telecommunications install or whatever. Last thing I want to do is start from ground zero and lose that person and have to start over and train somebody again. So I took that. It was a tough decision. Everybody, people could have left. They could have said, "Oh no, I can't afford that." But everybody bought in, and that really meant a lot to me. And so, it was a great thing. So that's how we handled the pandemic thus far.
I think that talks a lot about your philosophy, your leadership style, and the culture you've created within your company. Now, my book is all about that concept, but to find a CEO who is willing to do that, take the ownership of the decision, and then pay back what people lost is an unusual move, but I think a really strong one to keep people engaged and to have a great culture. It may be my opinion, but you don't see it like that all the time. So,
well, not everybody has the luxury to be able to do that. I mean, the nice thing about being in the voice business is that it's predictable. You may not know when you're going to get the next customer, but you're going to keep them for a while, and so that income predictability is there, and so it makes it a little easier to make those kinds of decisions when you have a recurring revenue stream that is going to return or increase over time.
Okay. So moving a little bit off of that kind of question line, let's talk a little bit about your daily routine. There's a lot of people written about CEOs staying sharp and healthy. Do you have any morning or evening routines that you use to stay sharp, stay healthy? And could you share this with us?
Yeah, I mean, I will be 60 this year, in 19 days. And, like a lot of CEOs, they probably don't take good care of themselves. And I might be the exception. Now, could I do better? Yeah, sure. I eat pretty well. My wife makes sure of that. I don't exercise as much as I should, but I have recommitted to that. So I typically will do a little bike riding, stationary bike riding. I don't have a weight problem, but yeah, I do take care of myself. So my morning routine, and remember, I've been doing this for 25 years, and it hasn't always been like this. My wife goes to the gym in the morning. I stay home. We have a young son, younger, a teenager, and I hang out with him, and I'll do some work in the morning and get him breakfast, and then she comes home from the gym and showers, and then I head off to work. So it's not unusual for me to hit the office around 10:30. Now, does that mean I'm working at 10:30? No, I start at 6, and it's just where I'm working, etc. And it was funny because when we were pre-gaming before we brought everybody else in live, Bill was telling me about his wife and how she works from home and she'll work in blocks, right? And she doesn't work for 8 hours straight. She might work for 2 hours and then 3 hours, and then after dinner she might work for 2 hours. I do the same thing. If you're working on a proposal, everybody goes to bed. It's 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night. It's not unusual to stay up till midnight to finish a proposal or whatever. That's fine. But people talk a lot about work-life balance. And the best way to do that as a CEO is to delegate and make sure that the people that you bring in and have trained can handle everything. They don't need you. And in the last probably 5 years, I've gotten there where I don't need to be here. I really don't. I'm engaged. I'm always available. It's not to say that I'm not working. I'm just saying that they can run the thing. I don't need to be here to make decisions. I trust my people. They make wise decisions. And so, as far as taking care of yourself, you can't put it all on yourself as the CEO. You've got to develop people to help you. You've got to get everybody moving the same direction with the same philosophy, because, God forbid, what if you drop dead? I've got a machine running here now, and I'm just a cog in it. And if I take that cog out, my machine is going to keep running. I have two younger daughters that, maybe someday they might want to come take over dad's companies. I don't know. It would be great, but I think they have careers going already. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's a whole nother segment, right?
Some kids follow in their parents' footsteps. I didn't, and most kids don't, but some do.
Yeah, yeah.
So Bill, no. I think I fixed that again. The microphone keeps going back to my headset, not the microphone that's sitting next to me. So that's what I just noticed. It jumped.
Yeah.
So no interview would be complete with you, Bill, without talking about LinkedIn and PhoneBill. So what got you started with LinkedIn? How does it help your business? And what would you recommend to people who are not as active there?
Yeah, so it's a great question. In 2008, I set up my LinkedIn account, and probably like most of the people on here, maybe, really didn't do much with it. From 2008 till 2020, I had about 1,400 connections. And really, from 19 to 20, I had really been trying to add. So I was probably, for many years had, less than 1,000 connections, maybe 700 or so, which is fine. But when the pandemic hit, one of the things that I didn't have many skills in was marketing. And, I didn't even have the skills to make wise decisions on spending money on outsourcing marketing, lead generation, website development, SEO, et cetera, et cetera. So when the pandemic hit and things were slow and my people were running everything, Bill dove into marketing, and I hired a couple people to work with me, to help me on different projects, to educate me. I didn't want to outsource it. I wanted to know how I was spending my money. So a year ago today, I said, LinkedIn, I really need to double down on LinkedIn. So it was about November. I had about 1,400 connections. And in January, I got on a platform called Clubhouse. And I'm not sure if you have heard of Clubhouse, Bill, but one of the things on Clubhouse was, there's all kinds of rooms on there, but the one that I gravitated to was LinkedIn. There was all kinds of LinkedIn rooms, and the people that were in these rooms were from all over the world. LinkedIn experts from the UK, from Australia, New Zealand, the US, and so I started learning. And I was in this one room, and I heard this young lady, and she's just a joy, and she's just telling all the LinkedIn stories, and I'm really resonating with her. And I had a hat on that had the college where my kids went to, Virginia Tech, and I was in this room, and she said, "Oh, I went to Virginia Tech," and I was like, "Oh, really? That's interesting." So at about February of this year, I said, "You know what? I need to do more on LinkedIn." And I think I could learn what I need to, but I think I'm going to hire a coach. So I hired her. Her name is Judy Fox, and she had a program called LinkedIn Accelerator. And what it was meant to do is it was an 8-part training session, intense training session to take you from 0 to 100 very quickly. There's nothing in LinkedIn that anybody can't learn, but it takes time. I wanted to go tomorrow. I wanted to start using it tomorrow. So I took our training back in February, March, a little bit of April, and just started really diving into it. I took my followership from about what I say, 1,800 to close, just under 5,000 now, in a year. I post about 3 times a week. And I can tell you that this year I got my 2 largest clients ever on voice because of LinkedIn, without a doubt, from LinkedIn. The first one was a company that I had tried to get some networking business from 5 years ago. While I was there, I noticed their phone system was probably midlife, and I said, hey, I messaged the COO and I said, hey, when you're ready to switch out your voice, let me know. 5 years later, I get a reply on LinkedIn. Hey, are you still interested? I was like, yeah. Next day I was in her office and I said to her, I said, what made you think of me again? It's 5 years. And she's like, I've been watching all your posts on LinkedIn, all your posts about cloud voice and about SIP trunks and about endpoints and about, and just educating people about cloud voice. And I said, yeah, but you never commented, you never liked anything. She goes, I know, I was watching. And the LinkedIn users, we call that a lurker, right? They just consume. There's about 800 million people on LinkedIn right now. Less than 5% are what are called content creators. So those are the people that post at least once a month. 65% just read. They're just consumers. So if you think about that, that's like running a TV commercial, right? Where you're going to run an ad to 1 million people, but only 3 of your competitors are going to be on there with you. It's like it's wide open. It's like shooting fish in the barrel, right? And who's on LinkedIn? Decision makers, business owners, executives, etc. It's my audience. And so I've been working very hard on that brand and using LinkedIn. And that's really where PhoneBill came from. It's a catchphrase, and it's been, and I've been marketing it and branding myself, and it's working. And you know what it cost? My time.
Right.
For the most part. So and time is expensive. So.
Do you have a premium LinkedIn account?
I did. I actually have Sales Navigator now, which is,
Okay.
a little pricey, but really for a business, it's less than $100 a month. My maid service is more than that for my office, so it's well worth it.
Well, with Sales Navigator, and there's some third-party tools that work with that are not that expensive, that you can actually create very targeted lists for email campaigns. So, you can do it without the list builder, but the list builders accelerate and get much tighter to your target audience by title, company size. So those things work pretty well with LinkedIn and Sales Navigator.
Yeah, no, I think, so the other 2 phrases I use is, I'm a hunter, right, on LinkedIn. And there's 2 ways to hunt, with a shotgun or a sniper gun, right? So some posts are meant to go wide and to get brand. And then sometimes you pinpoint a particular person or a particular company and you go after them. So there's methods to do both of those. And and I do posts with all of that.
Right. And people really need to use it. If they don't use it enough, they really need to use LinkedIn. It's very powerful. And even though it's a nuisance to be sold to on a regular basis, you learn from other people's attempts to sell to you what you like and what you don't like. So, I get stuff every day from people trying to sell me something. and I'm not even active in a corporation anymore. I'm more selling my book and, doing podcasts and various other things. They're still trying to sell me services. So it's kind
Yeah,
of
and
interesting.
yeah, listen, one of the things that they do is, they look at job titles, and when they see CEO, they're coming after you. And so, you just gotta put yourself in their shoes, right? You don't know what they're going through. Maybe they're trying to feed their family. Maybe they're trying to send their kid to college. Maybe so I
That's
try to be
right.
kind to them, and I actually try to help them. I'm like, look, let me give you some advice, Bill. Don't pitch somebody the day after you connect with them, grease the wheel, like, comment, engage, spend some time, network with them, then pitch them, right? Figure out a way to
Right.
pitch them, if you turn them off, they're gone forever. So take your time. It's a
Right.
marathon, not a sprint, a marathon. So take your time.
Yeah, I end up getting an email. I know they've been on my profile, and then I get an email, and you can respond to them, where they then don't pay for the email, or you can just let it sit there. And I will do something similar to you. I'll say, why don't you get to know me first before you try to sell me? So
Yeah.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
I'm not going to be buying any crypto coin from somebody who's been doing it for 2 months out of their basement.
I got a
Sorry.
bunch of those. I got a bunch of those this week. So it must be going
Yeah.
around to everybody. So
Yeah.
Bill, oh, hang on here. I don't know why it slips off of my microphone. It's really weird.
I can hear you.
You can now, but it had slipped off of the microphone into my headset input. What advice would you give to other CEOs who may be struggling with people, personnel, acquiring new customers, or maybe some other day-to-day challenges? What couple of pieces of advice you might give them?
Well, I think that, I've said this a few years ago, is that if you're running a VoIP company or an MSP, you're probably technical, and it's a small company. You're probably technical. You probably came up through the ranks, carried a tool bag, carried a phone bag, whatever. So the technical side. You probably are pretty good with customers, right? Once you've acquired them. The challenge is acquiring customers. The challenge for somebody who's technical is knowing that marketing side of the business. And so there are people that can help you along the way, coaches, trainers, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say my advice would be not to be hesitant to hire somebody to do that. Don't be so cocky that, hey, you're running a successful business, but you know what? If you did this, you might be this much better. And so that's a teaching an old dog new tricks, like me, is rare. But to be so cocky to think that you know everything, well, that's just foolish. So I would say keep your eyes open. Don't be afraid to this cloud alliance. I mean, peers are the best.
Mhm.
Find your peers. Use this organization um, to exchange information, to pick up the phone. I mean, I have cloud voice alliance people that I call weekly. As a matter of fact, this morning I was talking to somebody. I talked to somebody else in Florida yesterday, and it's not unusual to talk to these guys. Now, we don't always talk about phone stuff. Sometimes we do talk about personnel or things, because who else are you going to talk to? I mean, who wouldn't you rather talk to somebody who totally understands your business than to talk to somebody who's, sells solar panels? I mean, businesses have commonalities, but if you can find somebody that's really in tune with what you do, and they're at the CEO level, or they're running their own company or whatever, you'll find that most people are happy to engage. They're happy to tell you. There's plenty of business out there for everybody. Now, would I, in my building, there's a competitor 3 suites down, who I happened to take some business from a few months ago. But I'm not, we're cordial, but that's a little too close. So it's better, like if you live in New York, you want to call me, we're good. I'm not going to be coming on your turf, and you're probably not going to be coming down here. So there's plenty of business for all of us, and the Cloud Alliance allows you to develop those relationships that will enhance your business without a doubt.
Very good. Well, coming down the home stretch here, what advice would the Bill McClain of 2021 give to the Bill McClain of 1995?
The smart ass response is to buy Apple stock or something like that, right? Or Tesla. And the other thing you always hear is, on your deathbed, very rarely do you say, I wished I would have spent more time at work. One of the things that my wife, who retired 14 years ago at 43 or 44, she got us to that point. So I think if I could have done it a little faster to get her the heck out of work, I think I would have said, Bill, step it up. She needs to be with the kids. I look back and I think I did the best that I could. Things have been going great for years, and they're still going great. I was talking to Bill a little bit about my numbers. We're back up to pre-pandemic numbers, revenue-wise. So that's a good thing. Picked up some really big clients this year. So I think I would not have a whole lot to say. I mean, little mistakes, but nothing major. I mean, when you're lucky enough to be in business 25 years and 10 years, you probably made more right decisions along the way than wrong decisions. But I can tell you that were stressful times, and I can remember looking in the mirror in the morning and saying to myself, make wise decisions today. Because there's not a book. I mean, there are books, your book, but in general, back then there weren't many, guides to running a small business. Now there's a lot, including yours. And so I would highly recommend that to anybody who's listening, to pick up Bill's book. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot of regrets, to be honest with you. We've been very blessed as a business, and been very blessed as a family, and yeah.
So Bill, what do you predict is going to happen in 2022, just in general?
So we're going to continue to grow. We're poised. I've got another person hiring starting in January, who's going to be more of an assistant to me, because my time is, the most. I mean, that's the thing that we have the most of. So I think one advice I would have for CEOs is protect your time, right? Protect your time. Spend it carefully. Outsource when you need to. Bring in help when you need to. Hire an assistant or a virtual assistant when you need to. Do you really need to be sorting through all those emails, or can somebody else do it for you? Do you really need to have your engineer reminding you that you're late for a business meeting, right? No, get some help. So 2022, the economy's a little, things are a little shady. But here's the thing, as far as voice, every business needs a voice. Everybody needs a phone system, and the quality is there, the products are there, and I think we're going to continue to expand in that area because of things like remote working. I would not want to be in commercial real estate right now, because I think one of the things that happened in 20 and 21 is a lot of companies realized they can work from home. Perfect example, we picked up this medical group here in town. They had a 50-person call center. After we installed our system, they all work from home now. And the reason they can is because of the phone system. And when I was doing training with them, it was such a big client. I personally did training, which I don't usually do, but I did. And I said the COO and the head of the call center was in the training watching me. And I said to them, I said, hey, look, I just heard that the company is decided to let you guys work from home. I know you all know about that, and you can thank me. And they all busted out laughing. And the COO looked at me, and I was like, well, it's true. Our phone system gave them the flexibility to work from home. So I think other companies are going to realize that in 2022, that having that base system gives them tremendous flexibility.
Okay. Hopefully you'll have some good content for that on your website and in your marketing. Okay, Bill,
Yeah.
I have one question left. What is one factoid about you that no one really knows about you that you will share with us?
I pretty much stick down the middle. Let me tell you something. As a CEO, when you talk politics or religion or things that could potentially be divisive, you have to remember to yourself, you potentially are going to lose 50% of your clients by being left or right or up or down or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what you would need to know about me is that I respect everybody's opinion. I respect everybody's right to their own opinion, to their own decisions. And I truly believe on don't tread on me, like you do you, I'll do me. As long as I don't step on you and you don't step on me, then we're fine. And so, hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, well, the fact that you're right down the middle, most people probably don't know. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty much aligned with you. Bill, I want to thank you for taking the time. And, a lot of people on their CEO journey have a vision from the time they were a kid, or their parents had a vision for them. And that's why I like to ask everyone that I interview or meet, what was your CEO journey? Everybody likes to hear it. Yours, you just became one because of the way things work. And then here you still are. So
yeah,
it's worked out really well. So it
wasn't a mission.
Yeah. Some people it is. And believe me, I've met some of those people. And, they get disappointed more easily than those that did not have the mission, that just kind of fell into it. And these days, the kids coming out of school are so much better equipped than we were when we were kids. For example, the Gen Zers, which have a whole different perspective, they were born with a computer and a phone in their hand. They wouldn't know what a rotary phone was. They wouldn't know what it was like to go from TDM to packet. They just wouldn't. And so there's no appreciation at all for the technology or what it's like to lead a company and take it there. And a lot of these kids have started, they're millionaires by the time they're 17 because of TikTok, and they're influencers, and people are paying them that if they decide to start a company, they're going to be a CEO just like you were. And then they hire their first person, and then the second person, and then the fifth person. And all of a sudden they're a CEO and they have no clue where to go. Now, those are the people that should buy my book, right? Because in the book, I have a framework that talks about your path to CEO, your philosophies, and your leadership style really drive the culture that you're going to be that you're going to create. And you've discussed how you got where you are, which is why you have loyal customers and loyal employees, because you treat them with respect. You care about them. User experience, customer experience, those are part of your core values. But I know a lot of people that don't have those, and I've worked for several of them, and anyone who reads my book will see that. And believe me, you can't just be a dictator. It doesn't work. Now, sure, you can be a Steve Jobs. There's one of those. You can be Elon Musk. There's one of those. But you can be a John Chambers, who created a world-class company.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. But anyway, thank you all for attending. People have fallen off now because it's 3:00. And thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. And we'll be in touch pretty soon. Thank you, everybody. You'll all get the recording link in email.
Thanks.
And
Appreciate it.
all right.